How to get grade 9 in GCSE English language. This is for the AQA specification, but if you do any other spec, you can also apply the info I tell in this video to your own course. So for paper 1, question 1 is a 4 marker, and in this 4 marker you'll be given lines to read within, and you have to say 4 things about the extract. This could be a very simple question like 4 things about the setting or 4 things about a character, and you have to aim to get 4 out of 4 in this question since it is the easiest mark of the whole paper. You could write your answers as quotes or as a short sentence. So I have a paper example here. Here the question says, list 4 things about Master from this part of the source. So when we read the extract, we can see from the first line it says, Master was a little crazy. So we can literally state the first line as our answer. So on the first line we can write in quotes, Master was a little crazy. That's already 1 mark out of 4, and I have the mark scheme here on the left hand side where you can read along, where it also shows answers that are available. Then it says, he has spent too many years reading books overseas. Just from that line we can tell two things that he reads a lot of books, and he has been traveling overseas for a long time, or has been overseas. So easily that's 3 out of 4 marks. So then just like that you would do 4 points as quotes or as a simple short sentence and get 4 out of 4. So the next question would be question 2. This is an 8 marker and it's language analysis. So to do this question, I have a structure here for you guys. If you don't want to use it, you can use one that you're familiar with, but this can also help you. So this is the SQA, so statement quote analysis, or you can do statement quote inference. It doesn't really matter, it's the same thing, but if you're more of a question person, ask yourself what, how and why. Aim to do your analysis at least 3 times per quote and use linking quotes to really reinforce your answers. Some teachers might tell you it's quality over quantity, but if you are that kind of person, aim for 2 paragraphs that have linking quotes in each paragraph. Really make sure to embed your quote, and I have an example here. For example, it says, the writer portrays that Megan is angry and frustrated. That'll be our statement. We add a comma, put our quote in. This means we have embedded our quote. This easily shows the examiner that you know what you're doing. You have experience, you're a good writer. Next, we need to show the examiner that we know what kind of language technique this is. Is it a verb, an adjective, simile, metaphor, rhetorical question, sibilance, adverb, etc. Whatever it is, you have to show them that we know what kind of word that is. Then we need to talk about the effect. That's where the analysis comes in. Now I have words here that you guys can use instead of saying reveals and suggests again and again, and really increase your vocabulary. But make sure we analyze it 3 times, dig it 3 times, really break down your quote and say, what can this show, what can it affect, how can it affect the character or the setting, or what does the setting show about the characters, or why did the writer use these words to describe this character? Is it because they're skinny, or is it because they are greedy in real life, or is it because they are actually like an angry person all the time? But just don't go out of context. If you go out of context, your answer will be wrong, and the examiner will think you have zero understanding of the text, which is actually the first bullet point when it comes into the mark scheme. So here is the mark scheme for you guys. It literally says detailed understanding of language. This basically means you are understanding what you're reading. If you understand what you're reading, and you can show the examiner that you understand what you're reading by not waffling around and going out of context, you will tick that off. Next says analyze the effect of the writer's choice of language. This is why I'm saying we have to analyze at least 3 times per quote to really show that you understand this is the effect. Sometimes you can't do 3, but it has to be more than once. You can't just say this word shows one thing. You have to say it can show this, which means this, or furthermore enhances the idea of this. And then the 3rd bullet point says judicious textual detail. This is why we embed our quotes. This is why we use linking quotes to really show them that we can use a appropriate quotes to back our statement up. Then it says accurate use of subject terminology. So this is basically saying you have to make sure you know what a simile is, what an adverb is, and stuff. So if you think that something is sibilant, just because sibilance is a fancy technique, but you don't know how you will be able to describe its effect, there's no point of using sibilance and getting it wrong. But you would be better off if you literally said noun and actually writing the effect properly. So next is paper 1 question 3. This is also 8 marker, and this question focuses on the structure of your extract. This you will have to read the whole extract from the beginning to the end, and you have to make sure you analyze the whole extract structure. If you don't do this, you will cap yourself and you won't be able to get a level 4 answer. You can either do 4 mini paragraphs about the beginning and the middle, or the shift and the zoom and then the ending, or as 2 big paragraphs, one that focuses on your first zoom and shift, and one that focuses on your second zoom and shift and ending. For this question, subject terminology is very key. So here I have keywords that you should be using. In fact, you must use in your answers as many times as you want. So the examiner can just quickly read it and tick all of it because you have the keywords. For example, establishment, you can fit that in your first sentence. The writer establishes a setting, establishes a character, establishes an action. And then you can say there is a zoom, our focus is shifted, or there is an establishment of setting, the pace is very fast, it's very slow. And what does that mean? What's the effect of that? There's a flashback, the protagonist goes into a flashback, there's a flash forward, or this object foreshadows this. Like you have to analyze the structure. So here I have put an example of what a good structure analysis paragraph looks like, and you can see it here on the side. But the main point is know your subject terminology. And quick tip, in every extract that is given, the ending either has cyclical structure or some sort of ellipses. There's always something at the end of the extract that you can do to just analyze the structure of it. So the next question is paper 1 question for the 20 marker. The question 2 and 3 build you up for this question, and they are usually about the same topic, or you can use the same quote. And if you do end up using the same quote, you can use your analysis that you did in question 2 and 3 and use it in question 4, since each question is marked by a different examiner when in your real GCSEs. And if you think that, oh, they're going to think I'm reusing the same ideas again and again, they're not going to think that, because no one's looking at your whole paper. They're looking at different questions. So you can steal your ideas from 2 and 3 and use it in 4 if the question links, which it usually does. So for this question, the question they ask you, there's always a foresight for it. No matter what, you have to agree to the statement. You can't be a rebel and just decide to fully disagree, because you won't get your level 4 marks. You have to agree. But if you want, you can add a bit of against in it. So you can have a little paragraph or do a however. One may argue that and talk about why you won't agree with the statement, because it is an extent question. At the end over here, you can write a conclusion. There's not necessity, but if you are one of those people and where you did for and against, you need a conclusion to show what extent you agree to the actual statement. But if you can tell from your writing that you are already heavily agreeing, then you don't necessarily need a conclusion. Here also, linking quotes, use them as couples, really enhance and reinforce your ideas and build them up. And if they do link with 2 and 3, use your analysis from there and save yourself time. And for this question, you should give yourself around 20 to 25 minutes. You shouldn't really go over into your question 5 time, but if you are a creative writer, then you could take away your time of planning for question 5 and use it in this question, but I don't really recommend doing that. Also, make sure you underline your question and really see what kind of words they're using and what they're asking you of, and then think of synonyms of those words so you can use them in your answer instead of repeating what the question has used. So here I've also put an example answer, so just pause to read it. So I've also included an example answer for question 2, and you can really see here as I zoom in that the person has highlighted key quotes and numbered them to show which ones they're going to use as couples and really reinforce their ideas. So I'm going to read one paragraph of this and the rest you guys can read, but I'm going to show what the person is doing and how they're reaching their level 4. This answer got 7 out of 8. So the question says, how does the writer use language here to describe the Hardtop family? So they've picked that one quote, which is thin, angular, starved faced, and the reinforcing quote would be sprawling awkwardly. So the writer used a triplet, so we're only showing them that look, we know what language feature this is, to highlight how malnourished Hardtop is. That is our statement. Then we have embedded our quote, thin, angular man, starved face. The use of the adjective thin. So we've said it's a triplet, but I'm only going to focus on the adjective now. Adjective thin reveals that Hardtop is poverty stricken and hence is deprived of essentials. So here we have said it's poverty stricken and therefore might mean this. The use of the adjective starved face, and that's our second dig in now, further reinforces the idea that Hardtop is poor and therefore is skinny and bony. The use of the adjective angular, so now that's our third dig in, highlights the sharp edges Hardtop has due to the harsh circumstances he has faced in his life, and also metaphorically reveals that Hardtop lacks emotion as he has harsh characteristics. So now for this third part of that one quote that we started with, we're saying that it has two meanings. One, that he has angular face because he's poor and he's malnourished, and other metaphorically the writer might want to tell us that this man is actually rude and unfriendly. This idea that Hardtop is selfish and unfriendly is reinforced. Now this is where our linking quote comes in to really reinforce this idea that this person is rude or malnourished. It's reinforced by occupy almost all the seat, sprawling awkwardly. Now that's our quote. Statement quote. Now we do the inference times 3. The use of the pronoun all. So here the person used pronoun, but this actually collective pronoun. All juxtaposes with his thin body. So here we've put a quote here, thin, even though we're not going to analyze it again, but we have just embedding it and showing that look, we can use the quotes at the right time in the right moment to show that look, I'm not waffling. It says it here that they're thin body, as he reveals the lack of love he has for his family who have to sit squeezed up. Once again, embedded our quote in. So now you guys can read the rest of it, but you get the main idea. You have to write a statement, embed your quote in, and really analyze each word of the quote 3 times to show that you have a good understanding. Think of it literally, metaphorically, link all your ideas together, and you will get a level 4 answer. Hey guys, thank you very much for listening, and really do put these tips and see how your grade will change. Next video will either be on question 5 of paper 1 or paper 2 from question 1 to 4. I might also do a video on poetry and for literature, and also a speech, because there are lack of resources on how to do a speech and get distinction for GCSE. Thank you for listening.